I want to be as simple as possible, and I anticipate the three messages I want to convey. The first one is media literacy is important, is stating the obvious, and it means to invest in people. As you know, what really matters, and that is the reason why we are at the European Parliament in EU, is policy and money. So my second message is that we would like to have media literacy back in the Audiovisual Media Service Directive, and that media literacy deserves a decent budget for media literacy initiative. Before asking for media literacy to be back in the directive, I think we have to understand why it's not there anymore, and also why it was there in the previous version. I started to do some self-criticism. I think that the experts they have had some sort of arrogance, saying, which has caused some confusion, is if now still people don't understand what media literacy exactly is, there must be a reason. And within this gap, this vacuum, is some strong economic interest that step in. That is what is lobbying saying. Is that means that we have to deal with the results that we have. At the same time, we should give credit to those same experts, because there are tons of research and evidence about what media literacy is and why it's so important, even to be included in EU policy. Therefore, I think that it is necessary for to create a sort of win-win scenario, to reconcile terms and to reformulate the approach that we have to have with media literacy, and focusing pragmatically on what can be improved. In simple terms, media literacy means to equip people with competence that allow them to access, use, evaluate, and create, communicate media content. So to have the resources to use the media well as a real resource to them. It's nothing more than that, media literacy. It means that investing in media literacy means investing in people. Is there any better investment that the EU could make? Is investing in the only asset that a society has got, that is its people. It means to improve their condition in political terms, so that citizens can act and behave in a meaningful way as a full citizens. I like more the concept of full citizenship. That is also the title of this debate, rather than active citizenship, for what we were just mentioning before. Full means to be more aware of what one would do, and the being in a certain way is behind acting that comes later. So to have a society, a media literate society, that would act, responsibly through the media. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, but I would like you to imagine a group of people, consumers, citizens, call them people, minors, in whichever way you want to call them, is a big group of people, ourselves, the society, if you want, and by the way, we are part a bit of a sick society. We'll have the Brexit, is a referendum tomorrow, and following a study of the OECD, the Organization for Economic and Development, so a very authoritative source, 20% of British people and Europeans are functionally illiterate. It means that tomorrow they will vote for somebody, but they don't know why. And how important is for democracy to have instead inform citizens or inform voters in this respect. Is it is so important to be able, when we say in media literacy, to distinguish between propaganda and information. And there are very, very many concrete examples of that. That is why media literacy is important. While we have this group of people, we do aim to have as citizens that, like our children, we want them to grow, we want them to act responsibly, we want them to eventually to participate to public life, to be aware of what they are doing. We want to pursue the public interest, possibly. Hopefully this is what democracy should be about. Even from the market point of view, and the Commission loves this, talking is more about consumers. We want an informed consumer. We want people that, as the commissioners now they are saying, borrowing some terms from the media literacy, we want people to be able to read and write the media so that they will be able to be more competitive and more productive on the market. By the way, the difference of these digital skills that take so much part of the debate at EU level is with media literacy is that indeed you have to be able to write and read, but you have also to be able to participate to public life. This is the difference. Is somehow citizenship. So it's not sufficient to engage with technologies. It's important to engage with media content. And you have to have not only technical skills, but you have to have cognitive, evaluation, critical thinking capacity, and to communicate and to be able to create content to engage with others. So this is what we should aim to. We want our kids not to be manipulated, not to consume their time on their gadgets. It's really striking. It's full of pictures of people wasting time, not wasting time. I mean, continuously being at least distracted from their what they are doing or consuming time. It would be so great if people would use the media and their gadget as a real resource, to be in control of them. This is what media literacy is, to be able to recognize fake stories on the web. There are more and more. To be able to create content, to communicate better with social media and so forth. So how do we get there? What has this to do with the directive of the Audiovisual Media Service Directive? Perhaps DG Connect now could say it's a matter of education. But now the education is not anymore around the book. Education nowadays is around the screen. Education is around audiovisual content. It's about informal education, if you want. There are tons of evidence about this. And I don't want to start with the rhetoric of that we are living in a digital era, that everything is changing in the way we live, we work, we play. But there is one point that I think is important also in the jargon of the European institution. We are not living in an information society. We are not living in a knowledge society. We are simply living in a media society. Whether you become wise or skilled in using the media is a completely different matter. This is what media literacy. This is the capacity of using well those media. Then you become wise. Then you become knowledgeable. Then you become informed. Otherwise, you have just to deal with the media. Again, media literacy. So I just want to mention that as well as functional literate people. There was another statistics last week, and there are so many, in fact, that we could put forward. 50% of British people get their information from just 3 social media: YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. 50% of adults get their information just from that. It's enormous. Is it how important it is, and which is the responsibility of those media? Is because they are really capable of shaping opinion. We are not going to discuss about algorithms, etc., but it seems that they can decide very much the result of the referendum tomorrow, for instance. Are the media be blamed? Do they have to be blamed for this state of affairs? They are private organizations, they legitimately aim for profit, but the EU is in between. They have a role and maybe a responsibility in regulate what is in between. By the way, in this market, in these cities, this in the name of a free market, the results are that there are 3 shops already where we can buy food, and this Google, is Amazon, is Apple, by the way, all Americans, and is continuing. Facebook has bought Instagram, its main competitor, just to be safe. Microsoft has bought LinkedIn, 26 billion euro. I mean, here we are discussing, and thankful to the amendment that you have had approved, that is for 250,000 euro, media literacy. On the other side, we are talking about 25 billion euro. And with your 250,000 euro, we have to deal and select very good initiatives and networks and organizations. This might have point. We need more resources financially. So we should wonder who is paying the bill for this state of affairs. And we cannot deny anymore that this is the landscape, the scenario that we are facing. I think that the EU did well. In fact, it has done very well in the last 10 years, and 5 years ago we were not near about what we have achieved so far. Now we know what media literacy should encompass. There are networks, institutions, international organizations that are talking about this piece of research and so forth. There is no need to make the history of media literacy now, but both from a policy point of view and from a research point of view and networking point of view, a lot has been achieved. And we should, and I think the unit of Lorena, that by the way is not called anymore media literacy, but is continuing doing well. Marisol has been able to network with, and we are linking and distributing information so that the group, the friends, the community of media literacy is truly becoming, and exchanging information. And the movement is growing, although each on his own direction, whether it's education, research, or civil society. AVI is a not-for-profit organization, so we are part of this small Indian reserve that would deserve a bit stronger voice at the institution. But we reckon that a lot has been achieved. So one more point is that I want to mention for the sake of the conversation that we'll have about the Audiovisual Media Services Directive is that it is not, media literacy it is not just an audiovisual policy issue, but is also a audiovisual policy issues. There are, you name whichever dossier that we are discussing, whether it's protection of minors, whether it's privacy, collection of your data from this gadget, security. Is it important that people are capable of recognizing pluralism or censorship? This is the reason why media literacy was in the directive before. And the legislator thought that it was so important that he include a contractual obligation for member states to, in the whereas I was saying that media literacy should be promoted now and in the future. So media literacy is important in audiovisual issues. And again, jumping from the analysis and going to the conclusion is not just a matter of protection of minors. As in our family, we don't want just to protect our kids. We want to empower them. No? We want them to be responsible. It's not just a matter of shifting responsibility to member states because it's an educational matter only. It's not a matter of shifting, again, responsibility to the media with self-regulation. I mean, self-regulation means no regulation somehow. I know that I'm a bit simplistic, but it's a bit, I mean, it's always the responsibility of somebody else. And I think that we have to take the responsibility of having some rules in this network, in this is minimum ones. I don't know which ones the debate is open, but EU should not pull back. That's what I think Commission and the Parliament and the Council. So I finish. I think again that from Brussels we have done decently well. I want just you to retain this message. When you think about media literacy, in whichever discussions you will have, think about the people. Think that we want to invest in people. This is what media literacy is. And EAVI, myself, is in the community of media literacy, will be very happy to discuss this further, whichever are the occasions that will be given. Thank you.